Really quickly guys, check out our month-long Black Friday sale over at Fantasy Sabers, where we're giving away a free Chosen One Deluxe with every saber purchase. These are the best sabers on the market, so don't miss out. What if Anakin refused to kill the Younglings? Let's start the story during Order 66. The halls of the Jedi Temple burned, with smoke and screams. Anakin Skywalker moved through them, like a shadow of death, his blue blade cutting down friend and foe alike. Each strike fed the darkness inside of him, a consuming power that promised salvation for Padme. Each Jedi that fell to his blade was a step closer to mastering the power to save her. He's almost there, almost strong enough in the Force. He goes to the Younglings' quarters, knowing this act might be the push he needs to achieve that power. The door opens, and in the council chambers are hiding a group of Younglings. They all look up at him, their faces filled with fear, but now they change to a look of hope. Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, has arrived and will save them. But that's not what Anakin was here to do. He was here to take them out. One of the Younglings asked Master Skywalker, what are they going to do? And Anakin thought, die. But as he goes to ignite his lightsaber, he hesitates. He thinks about what he's doing. These are children. He's Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, the hero with no fear, the hero of the Clone War. He doesn't kill children. He looks past the Younglings, outside the window, to see where his home with Padme is. He closes his eyes and reaches out with the Force, connecting with the warmth inside of Padme's heart. His mind raced. He needed the power to save Padme, but at what cost? Killing children? The dilemma almost overwhelmed Anakin. He never imagined there was this much pain in the universe. He focused on Padme, her good heart and mind, and this soothes his soul, soothes the fear and anger inside of him. What is he doing? Padme wouldn't want this. Padme wouldn't love the man Anakin had become, a murderer. He's already killed tens of Jedi, as he's made his way to the Younglings' quarters, but decides he will not kill any more. If he is to save his wife, it can't be through hate, anger, and murder, as she would never forgive him. He finally turns around and looks at the Younglings. He tells them to follow him. The path to safety will be dangerous, but to remember their training. They leave and rush through the temple halls. Anakin leads them against a squadron of clones outside, cutting them down one by one. More rush in, and Anakin pulls back and tells the Younglings to ignite their sabers. They do this, and Anakin talks them through what to do. He tells them to feel the Force, anticipate where the blaster bolts will come before they've been fired, and position their sabers exactly where they sense they will be. They do this, and begin deflecting bolts back at the clones. They advance, taking them out one by one, as Anakin jumps forward to finish the rest. The clones were confused. They were programmed not to attack Anakin through their inhibitor chips, however. Now that he's turned on them, they overcome this programming. They defeat the squadron, and Anakin leads them through a side passage of the temple. There's a landing platform there, and a ship has just arrived. He looks closely to see that it's Bail Organa. A squad of clones come up to him, but a Jedi Padawan rushes forward and starts attacking them. The Padawan is in danger, and Anakin somersaults in, blocking the blaster fire aimed at the Padawan, to swiftly hurl his saber around to take out the clones. He signals back to the Younglings to join him, and they come rushing over. Anakin goes up to Organa and tells him the half truth, that Palpatine is the Sith Lord, Darth Sidious, the Jedi had been looking for. He's overridden the clones' minds and is forcing them to hunt down the Jedi. Organa couldn't believe it, and Skywalker told him they must act fast. Palpatine is about to move against the Jedi in the Senate and declare ultimate power for himself. He must get in contact with the Council immediately. Anakin hands him his communication device to update him on any progress. The Younglings go with Organa. Meanwhile, Anakin goes back to the temple to assist the Jedi in the defense. Organa drops the Younglings off at his personal ship whilst he contacts Yoda. The Jedi Master answered, still on Kashyyyk, and told him what Anakin detailed. Yoda couldn't believe it. All this time Sidious was under their noses, but he's happy that Anakin was on Coruscant defending the temple. Yoda states he will come immediately. Organa contacts Obi-Wan next, who's just reached his ship, and tells him the same as what he told Yoda. Kenobi sets his sight for Coruscant and enters hyperspace. Meanwhile, with Anakin on the side of the Jedi's defense, the clones were having a difficult time. Anakin knew how the 501st worked and was the most experienced Jedi in the Clone War. He was built for this. He led squads of Jedi to take back sections of the temple lost, to defend the deeper levels that would make for an easier stand. There were heavy casualties, but the number of clones slowly diminished. The attack stopped and the Jedi grouped up, around 200 members still remaining. However, Sidious in his office senses something was wrong. The siege wasn't going as planned. Reports came in from the clones that the Jedi are putting up a strong defense and they're struggling to take the deeper sections of the temple. Was Anakin failing? Has he fallen? Or could it be something else? He decides that he will personally go to the temple to assist. Palpatine enters to find the Jedi in higher numbers than he expected, fighting back. He puts his hood on and ignites both red lightsabers. He begins rushing in, using his speed in the dark side, cutting down Jedi after Jedi, as they are no match for his power. Anakin could sense Palpatine was here, and made a move towards the foyer. Meanwhile, Organa contacted him, stating that Yoda and Kenobi were making their way back to the temple, and had arrived on Coruscant. Anakin entered the foyer, and in the distance could see Palpatine, cutting down Jedi like carving a cake. He rushes forward, Sapphire Blade ignited as he leapt across the battlefield. To block the strike, Palpatine had aimed at Sindralik's heart. He kicks Palpatine back, and the Sith Lord snarls. His fears were right, Anakin has betrayed him. He screams, telling Skywalker that Padme's fate is sealed, because after he kills him, he will go straight for her. The two clashed blades as the reverberations echoed throughout the Force. They were both masters of lightsaber combat, both going for the killing strike, coming close to it many times. They locked blades, trying to overwhelm each other with brute force. Palpatine laughed, telling Anakin he's changed his mind. He won't kill Padme yet. He'd wait until his child is born and have them all for himself. Anakin's anger rose, but he tried to balance himself to not let Palpatine get to him. They separated and looked over to the entrance of the temple at the same time. Palpatine wore a face of horror as he saw Yoda and Obi-Wan had arrived, blades ignited. Palpatine attempted to run deeper into the temple, but Anakin gripped him with the Force. He blocked his path, and Palpatine was forced to fight. Only a few seconds passed until Yoda and Obi-Wan were upon them. They circled the Sith, who tried to make an escape, but was blocked at every turn. He cast lightning at Yoda, who caught, but Obi-Wan came from the side, slashing at his thigh. The Sith Lord pulled back, but Anakin was waiting for him, and punched him in the back of the head. Palpatine momentarily saw black, and woke up on the floor, and squirmed around, already in handcuffs, and was defeated. With this, Obi-Wan and Anakin turned their focus to the clones, and successfully pushed them back to save the Jedi Temple. They meet with a group of surviving Jedi, around 140, to discuss the next plan of attack. The Jedi are happy to see Obi-Wan and Yoda with Palpatine arrested, but Anakin walks in with them, and a couple of Jedi start to call out towards him, saying that Anakin was the one who did this. He was part of it. He was the monster who let the clones inside, and he was a traitor. Everyone turned to Anakin, including Yoda and Obi-Wan, who asked Anakin if this was true. He dropped his head and told them that it was, and the masters couldn't believe it. Anakin told them he shouldn't have done it. He made a mistake. He thought he didn't have another choice. Padme is going to die. He had to help Palpatine. Sindralik walks forward and tells them both that he saw Anakin cut down 5 Jedi with his own eyes. Yoda looks at Skywalker with no words until he tells him that he is under arrest. Anakin doesn't argue and is put in handcuffs. Meanwhile, the Jedi go to the Senate alongside Bail Organa and declare that Palpatine has committed treason against the entirety of the Republic and Jedi. Obi-Wan explains that they learned a Sith Lord Darth Sidious was behind the Clone War, a high-ranking member of the Senate and partner of Count Dooku to create the war, and they finally uncovered and captured Sidious, better known as Chancellor Palpatine. The Senate couldn't believe it. None of them could understand why Palpatine would have betrayed the Republic this entire time. After the meeting, they discuss with the Republic Security Council, who execute Order 65 and plan for the election of a new Chancellor in 5 days' time. With this, the war was officially over. After Dooku and Grievous's death, with Palpatine captured, the Separatist Council realized there was little hope left for victory, and entered surrender negotiations with the Republic. Meanwhile, the Jedi Order recouped back on Coruscant. 1,200 members survived Order 66, only 12% of the Order. On the Council, only Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Coleman Cash were left. The Jedi helped to facilitate the surrender from the Separatists, and the transfer of power to the new Chancellor, Bail Organa. After the Jedi declared Palpatine was a traitor, Padme contacted Obi-Wan shortly after to ask what had happened to Anakin, asking if he was alright. Obi-Wan sits her down, knowing why she's asking. Obi-Wan deep down knew that Anakin and Padme's relationship was one of more than friends, and therefore, Anakin must be the father of her child. Obi-Wan puts his hand on Padme's shoulder and tells her that Anakin has been arrested. She was confused, asking why, what did he do? And Kenobi told her that he helped Palpatine attempt to overthrow the Republic. He killed tens of Jedi and led the clones into the temple. Padme put her hand over her mouth. This can't be true. Anakin wouldn't do this. He couldn't. Obi-Wan continued, telling Padme he came to his senses in the end and helped the Jedi defend against the clones and Palpatine, but it was too late. He committed crimes that could not be undone. He bows his head and tells Padme that he feels to blame for letting this happen. He knew Anakin was off emotionally and should have stayed by his side. He looks at Padme, telling her that Anakin mentioned he did all of this to save her, asking what reason he could have had for this. Padme told Obi-Wan about Anakin's nightmares of her dying in childbirth, similar to those he had of his mother. It all made sense to Obi-Wan. Palpatine must have promised Anakin the power to save Padme, only if he joined him. The next day, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka visit Anakin in prison, both saddened and disappointed by what he had done. Anakin tells them he knows he made a mistake. Palpatine manipulated him and he gave in so easily. He so desperately wanted to save Padme, but realized he couldn't at the price of his soul, and now he can't save her. Anakin lies there, emotionless, depressed now, and believing Padme's fate is sealed. But Obi-Wan stands there and folds his arms. He scolds Anakin, telling him he was a fool to give into his dreams, asking why he never consulted him, Ahsoka, or any of the masters on the council. Did he ever consider the idea that Palpatine might have been putting those dreams in his head? But Anakin didn't react. In his mind, it was over. Kenobi tells him his trial is tomorrow. No matter how disappointed he is in him, he is still his brother. Obi-Wan feels responsible for his actions and will fight on his behalf. But no doubt Anakin will be sentenced to time in prison. The trial of Anakin Skywalker commenced the next day. The remaining members of the council were there, as well as Masters Quinlan Vos, Sin Dralig, Oppo Rancisis, and Eno Cordova to make up the numbers. They discuss Anakin's actions at length, trying to come up with a punishment. Some say that Anakin deserves life in prison. Others argue that he didn't follow through on his actions, and others state that in the end, he turned on the clones and the temple wouldn't have been saved without him. Yoda takes the stance that Anakin's turn represents a failure of the Jedi Order, that they should have been able to sense it and intervene. However, that doesn't excuse his actions. They come to a decision and sentence Anakin to 15 years in prison, and Skywalker was taken in later that day. When Obi-Wan told Padme the news, her heart broke. She couldn't believe it, and in the stress of the moment, she entered labor. Obi-Wan took her to the hospital and supported her through the birth. He wondered whether Anakin's visions would come true here, but they did not. Padme successfully gave birth to 2 children, Luke and Leia. The next day, Padme goes to visit Anakin in prison with their children. Anakin hugs Padme deeply, apologizing over and over for what he had done. He couldn't believe it, that she had survived childbirth, and that his nightmares were wrong. This had never happened before, and in that instant, every remnant of the dark side left Anakin. His dreams were wrong, his family was alive, and he was a fool. Padme told Anakin she forgives him, and knows he was manipulated by Palpatine, and together they can get through this. Shortly after, it was leaked that Anakin was the father of Padme's children, and this was the end of her political career. She finished out the year as senator, and shortly after moved to Naboo to look after and raise the children, and Ahsoka goes with her for support. The 3 of them come back to Coruscant once a week to visit Anakin, so that he can see his children grow up. Obi-Wan also visits once a week, and they slowly begin to restore their relationship. Kenobi tells Anakin about the changes being made in the Order, as well as what's happening around the galaxy. They reminisce about old times, and Kenobi can sense that Anakin has completely given up the dark side and has full regrets of his actions. The weekly visits from his family are the anchor of Anakin's life. In the first year they were somewhat awkward. Anakin is consumed by guilt, barely looking Padme in the eye. He looks at his infant children with a mixture of overwhelming love and profound unworthiness, afraid his influence will taint them. After a few years, when Luke and Leia are toddlers, they are always excited to see their father, calling Anakin daddy through the transparent steel bars. They press their small hands against the barrier as he matches with his own. Together alongside Padme, they tell them simple, heroic stories of Anakin in the Clone War, so he can become their hero in their minds. His conversations with Padme grew deeper. They talk about the children's development, her life on Naboo, and how she's joined the local council on the planet. Around year 10, Luke and Leia are children, full of questions. They ask about the Force, about starships, about right and wrong. Anakin is a patient teacher, teaching them meditation techniques, how to center themselves, and the importance of compassion. Year 14 was the longest year, as the end was in sight, and finally the day came when he was a free man and he moved to Naboo with his family. Anakin arrives at the beautiful Naboo lake house. Padme, Luke and Leia hugged him deeply as he walked in, the first time in 15 years. It was a change, but slowly Anakin was able to integrate into the household. All these years Padme loved Anakin and never gave up on him, and Anakin would always be thankful that she stood by his side, a debt he could never repay. He began training his children in the Force, not as a Jedi, but as a balanced Force user. They never used a lightsaber, but rather trained them to feel the richness of the Force, to act in the moment, and focus on the living Force. Their connections were as strong as his, and he knew in time, their power would far surpass his own, and their past in the Force and life would reveal themselves in time. On this first night, after he returned, Anakin and Padme stood on the balcony, looking out at the countryside of Naboo. She hugged him from behind, telling Anakin she's so happy he's back. He turns and looks her in the eye, telling Padme he will never leave her again. Thanks for watching everyone. Once again, don't miss our Black Friday sale over at Fantasy Sabers, where with every saber order, we're giving away a free Chosen One Deluxe. The best NeoPixel sabers on the market, so don't miss out.